Welcome back to the Bold and Brilliant interview series. I'm your host, Jessica Martel, and I'm super excited to be sitting here with an incredible author and transformational coach, Isabel Hunt. She's amazing, and I just had to have her on the show. So welcome, Isabel.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited. And yeah, I was even excited when you reached out. I looked at your profile like, oh, that's really interesting. I think we're doing some more work. That's cool.
Yeah, I know. I randomly, it's so funny because you were a random like YouTube find. You don't know how you find these people, and I saw one of your videos, and you were so powerful. You had such an incredible light. I was like, I have to have this one on the show.
It's so funny because I don't really do much with YouTube, to be honest. I just post my Facebook Lives on YouTube, so I don't care too much about it, and it's so random. This is really just random.
I love it. I love it. And it's really cool because before we kind of started hit recording, we were talking about how your interview is going to be a little bit different than everybody else because you're coming from that place of talking to sensitive entrepreneurs, and we're going to go into the topic of empathy and what do you do when you want to really create that movement when you're kind of scared to jump in front of that movement or something seems to be holding you back. So let's kind of dive in.
Sounds good to me.
Can you tell somebody who feels like they're sensitive or there's something, there's something that's kind of preventing them, can you go into like being an empath and kind of what that means for someone who doesn't really maybe know what that is?
Yes, for empath, it's becoming more popular. I think the term, most people just know it as highly, highly sensitive. You're probably the person where people say, oh, just stop crying every time. Or you're just so emotional. You're a roller coaster every day. I don't know what to do with you. Or you're too sensitive. I'm sure some of us have heard that. And really, empaths are highly, highly sensitive people whose mirror neurons are more developed. So mirror neurons are a kind of brain cell that helps us to relate to other people. And for empath, it's more like if someone is angry, someone else is angry, and I actually see them, it feels like I am angry. So we feel everything the same way they do. Mm-hmm. And that really makes empath, or being an empath, a little bit tough. And people just don't really know how to handle that. And it's just sometimes they're the most amazing people, the most caring and loving people, but they hide because they don't know really how to deal with all that. Also, empaths have usually special gifts like seeing visions or prophetic dreams. In my case, I see colors around people, and often that is just translated into a message in my head, and so I kind of can read their mind. I describe it to my clients like I can read the energy of your heart. The vibration of your heart is reaching me, and my brain is translating all that into color. Or some of us see auras, or we're very, very connected to nature or animals. That's something else that is really determined, or is with most empath, you can see that. But also we can relate to other people in a much different way, in a very deep, there's a very, very deep connection. Like there's a heart connection, truly heart connection, but we're also affected by the energy of people around us. But we're also affected by the energy of world events that are happening around us. So if something thousands of miles happen somewhere else, like a big event, like a terror attack, I can feel it like it's happening in front of my door, literally. And so sometimes it's really hard for us to stay connected with people, to go out there, to be in places, to even do the work. Like even people who are not entrepreneurs and work in a company, it often gets so overwhelming that when they get home, they can't do anything else. And we know that cuts your social life very short. And so that is really something that empaths struggle with. Or they just feel always overwhelmed or frustrated. Some of them withdraw, so they start to see depressive faces and anxiety and panic attacks. And it hurts me because a lot of times they just get medicated. I'm like, oh yeah, depression. And I'm like, it's not a clinical depression. You just need to understand what's going on in your body. So I think that is that's what really determines the term empath. And empath, being an empath, is not something that you can just learn. It's just really part of who you are.
Mm-hmm. You're cutting it a little bit in and out, but for the most part, I got all of that. It's okay. I still got it. So I think the audio is going to be clear. So just bear in mind with us, it's probably going to cut in and out a little bit, but that's okay. We still got the audio, so that's awesome. And you're clear now again. So
it's just changing.
That's okay.
Just the picture going in and out?
Yeah, it's okay. We'll still have the audio. It'll be fine. It's just a little bit blurry on the picture. But I think if you stay still, I know it's hard for me. I always move around you. But when you stay still a little bit, it's a little bit more. So just don't move and we'll be fine. No, it's all cool. You know what I love about that is I think that so many people are empaths without realizing it. I know that I never realized it, or I didn't associate with actually that term or boxing myself in with it until recently. But I think one of the things that you said was really cool and it resonated with me, and it was about how you can be an extrovert and an introvert at the same time, because so many people that I know that are entrepreneurs are able to snap it on. If you have to get on stage, you have to perform, you have to coach somebody, you can rise to it. And I consider myself an extroverted person, but I'm also very greatly affected by that power that I have to put forward. And then I need a lot of time to recuperate. So do you want to kind of walk into that space? Maybe some things that people who, I know you coined that term, empire warrior. So let's kind of like go into that anomaly of empathy where we're strong, but we're also really sensitive. Can we kind of go into that place?
Yeah. From my experience with clients, there are people that are just true empath. There's no extroversion inside of them. But, for example, my husband is more of an empath. I'm the empath warrior. My son is more of an empath warrior. So it's kind of interesting family life that we have. Those who are empaths are usually people who are more operating in the background. They're like the backbone of the empath warriors. Not everyone is a warrior. Everyone is an empath. So it's interesting for people to understand that. But I feel like there's so much more for me to do, but I can't physically bring myself to do it because I get so overwhelmed. And so over the years, I just coined that term, empath warriors. Like, yeah, they're empath, right? They just want to hide under that heavy blanket, don't ever leave the house. But they have this really, really strong message on their heart that they feel that mission and they want to change something. They want to do something different and they want to make a difference and an impact. And so that's why they're the warrior at heart. And so what I go through with people through is how to protect yourself as an empath, to really be able to embrace the expert, to embrace the mission that they're on, the warrior. And it's almost like a training camp. You get all the tools, all the swords and the knives and whatever you need to live out your message and your mission. And then once you're ready, you go out and you are that warrior and you can go on stage. I like what you said on stage because with a lot of speakers who are empath, it's hard. And that's when it happens, you're like, you just kind of have this brain fart and everything is gone that you wanted to say. And that is usually when all the energy of the audience hits you. So if you're not protected in any way and you're not aware, this is a very current or a very common occurrence that happens with empath on stage. And so it's not that you just totally forget or you have stage fright. It's more that suddenly your brain is trying to read everything that it is receiving, and then you get overwhelmed and everything else is gone.
I love that. So what about for someone who's like, yes, this really resonates with me. For me, when I go onto a stage or when I have to perform, I have like a ritual that I do that I feel that I am stepping in my power and then, then able to do my thing. So what would you say is something that you do or you tell your clients to do that's maybe a simple routine that they can kind of step into that power? What do you do?
What I do, for one, I know that the topic that we're talking about, 3 ways empaths can impact the world without losing themselves. So one point is about really protecting yourself. And I have actually, it's the freebie, 5 simple ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
5 simple ways to protect yourself from negativity. And so what I usually do is one of those 5. There's a prayer on that page. There are other different, obviously one of them is going out in nature. I won't do that when I go on stage, unless there is some tree next to me, but it usually doesn't happen. But what I do is, for one, I meditate right before, and then I just calm myself, and then I envision like a light bubble around me. And I'm also doing the power pose. I'm sure some of you know that, with the shoulders back, chin up, and the arms right out. And that is actually, interestingly enough, a chiropractor told me that when you do that, your heart is protected. That's why we call it the power pose. Your heart is protected by your chest, by your ribs. When you open up, when you hover in, your heart is no longer protected. It's easy to attack. Like if someone would attack you, even energetically, your heart is more open to it. So when you open up your chest, your heart is protected, like physically and energetically, which is kind of interesting.
It's interesting how
and
those
so
topics
that
are
is one thing.
Yeah, like when they even say like stand strong, or you're confident, put your shoulders back. It's interesting how those things come to us, and like that's actually like physically true, which is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, when he told me, I'm like, okay, that makes sense, because a lot of us, especially women, tend to hunch over. Is it from motherhood? So we kind of like always have the baby in front of us. You start that. So women are a little bit more in that position to hunch over, but knowing that and really understanding the power behind it is incredible. So that is definitely like protecting yourself emotionally and energetically is one way to really have an impact, to be able to have an impact in the world. Otherwise, you just get bombarded, and you will never come out from underneath that blanket.
Mm-hmm. So that's like one thing you can do when you're kind of maybe talking in a live audience. What about for someone who has like a message in their business, and maybe it's the fear of social media, or it's the fear of posting what they really want to say? What are some tips that you give people who are highly sensitive to get in front of their message, to really speak their truth?
For one, that's a good question. For one, actually, it's important to know, to really step into your message, to feel it, to make it part of who you are. I realized that for myself when I started out with my business. I was like, okay, maybe that is my message, and I really want to bring out this message and that mission. But I was standing behind the message. Like, if you envision it like a picture, your message is here, you're standing behind it. You're not really part of it yet. It's almost like you're pushing the message in front of you to stay safe. So it hits the message whenever someone comes in and is like, oh, I really don't like what you talk about. Or that exposure hits the message and not so much you. You can always blame the message just by envisioning it. Yeah. But if we become our mission and when we become our message, that's when people can truly relate to us as business owners. And that's when success really comes. So I think, for one, empaths have to be very much aware of their emotional world. So if you are not able to fully step into your message, into your space, it can happen that there's some trapped emotions inside of you that keep you from taking that step. Because all of our life growing up, we experienced emotions more intensely. So it's harder for us to let it go, or other people's emotions get stuck inside of us. So everyone who works with me is going through emotions clearing process, where we really take a look, okay, what emotions are in your body? It's almost like an energy wall that keeps us from taking that next step. And I've seen, no matter if they're empaths or not, but with empath you see the bigger impact because they are so covered with energy that's not theirs, how they suddenly are able to just say, you know what, I feel so free, I can just do it. And then that combining that with how to protect yourself, they're really able to own their message, to stand with their message and not just behind their message to protect themselves. So if you want to get out a message, it is really important to understand, where are you? Are you behind your message, or are you actually standing with your message or within your message to really reach people? Because here's the thing. Empaths don't just experience other people's energy more intensely, their energy that they're sending out is more intense as well. So people know that, even if they're not fully aware of it, but people know what you're sending out. If you show kind of fear and maybe even guilt or shame, or you just like this little girl that feels like has a big message, that is what people realize. They feel that, and so they can't really connect to you. It's like, yeah, I don't think she really knows what she's talking about. She wishes she would, but she really doesn't, or he doesn't. And so that is something, pay attention where your emotional state is, what you're really connecting to being out there, what is your story or beliefs, and what is something, or being aware of what is really coming from you and what is coming from others. One thing that is really important, especially for business owners, as an empath, the higher you take your business, the higher the level you're at, the more exposure you will have. And the more exposure you will have, the more you have to protect yourself. Because you don't just take on other people's emotions, but suddenly their feedback, their criticism becomes yours. You may have not even thought about those criticisms or those stories, that you never even thought about your work at that level, but somehow someone was just, oh, that's just not cool, or whatever, that's just woo-woo, or hocus pocus, or whatever they think, and suddenly you hear that, and you feel like this is your message. And that's when it is even more important to protect yourself. So the higher you take it, the more you have to take care of yourself and protect. And it's a little counterproductive, and against everything every business guru would tell you, really, because you do have to do the opposite of what other business owners do to become and be successful.
I think that's really powerful. I actually spoke with someone yesterday on one of the series where it was the same thing. It's like, you know what? They're that term, the haters or the negative comments and stuff like that. But it's really, really, really cool to see. She said that, the reason why she felt like she got that comment is because they didn't feel and see her in her message. They just kind of took her business. So I love what you said about standing in front of that message, because it's, when you see the whole person, it becomes personal. It's authentic, and it's almost, it's ironically a safer place to be, because you're a real person, and it's, it's not just a business, right? Which is really cool. Awesome. So let's kind of go into a little bit of sales. So let's say, we have an incredible program, or we want to show up and reach our financial goals, but maybe in the back we're saying, I don't know if I'm ready to charge, or maybe, I want to do something different, step into a different arena. Let's talk about maybe the energy that circles that, where we have something amazing, but maybe that energy is blocking that abundance in some way.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that goes all back to your stories and your beliefs that you have about yourself. It's about truly understanding the power that lies within you, especially as empath. You're not just a business owner. You're not just someone who calls themselves an entrepreneur, or someone who is even just having a job. Not everyone is ready to take that step as an entrepreneur, because there's more to it. It's a lot of work. The energy that surrounds that, it's almost it's just literally doubting yourself. Yes. It goes all back to trusting. It goes all back to feeling safe. And that is something that I work with clients. Where are you not trusting yourself? Why is it? What is the backstory? What did you grow up with? But also, what are the emotions that are connected to that story? And I think once, especially empaths, feel that they can trust themselves and that they feel safe. I think that's something that I learned throughout the years. If I don't feel safe, you won't see me anywhere out there. You won't see me post Facebook Lives, or you won't see me on stage. But when I can connect, and one thing that I learned from my coach, she always says, if you don't feel safe, connect to your tailbone and your heart, and just say, I am safe, I am protected, I am provided for. And that has helped me tremendously, especially when I have to write something like a speech, or when I have to write or work on a workshop. When I doubt the message, that literally goes back to not feeling safe. So I do that exercise, and then I feel so safe, almost like, yeah, I know, I'm like more confident, I know exactly what I need to say. So it really goes back to feeling safe and being able to trust yourself and your intuition, and to distinguish what your heart is saying to you and what your brain is trying to convince you of. Because obviously your mind is taking in all the opinions from everyone else, and especially as an empath. My coach always says to me when I get to that stage, like, I don't know if I should do it yet, I'm not ready. She's like, Isabel, remember, you're renegade. You will never do anything like everyone else does. So stop even trying to look for what is right or what is wrong. You do it, and people will connect to you. Obviously, you don't have to go crazy. You don't have to do crazy crap. Like, literally, you don't have to be stupid about it. But if it's just something where you really just doubt, like, I know I'm ready, but maybe not, then you just really need to connect with your heart again and just say, okay, it's go time. One of the 3 ways that I wanted to talk about is to understand the importance of why you are even alive, why you are an impact, and trust that you are safe and that you are provided for. Empaths are more often, they appear often more like very serious and more drawn in, but that is really just because they feel so much from other people and they just try to figure things out. It's like, you know, when you look at someone, you have a conversation and they look really serious, and I'm like, am I just saying weird stuff? Do they not like me? But when you actually ask them, like, oh no, I was just trying to go through my mind and what you were saying and how this was going down and all the other thoughts and everything else what I heard from outside. So this is why they appear more serious. And I think one thing that empaths need to remember sometimes, we just need to play. We need to play more. We have to have fun more. We just experience more of that deep joy and breathe. I think that's something that is really important for empaths. Sometimes we just have to breathe and just open up and just embrace life for what it is instead of always trying to analyze and to fix. I think that's the problem. Empaths see, we analyze, we fix, we try to figure things out, and sometimes all there is just to play and just to be and have fun. And changing the way you experience life allows other people to change how they experience life. And if you don't, as an empath, we're considered healers. And that says a lot, because we see an increase in empath because the vibration of the earth is increasing. And so more sensitive people are more connected to that switch, to that change. So taking that into consideration, you have a purpose, like one that is tremendously important for how the world is connected and how we can relate to each other and how we can really make a positive impact and change the world to the positive. So if you're not stepping into that, honestly, you pretty much owe the world. Yeah. You owe your gift to the world, and if you're not stepping into it, you're part of the other problem. That's just something to be aware of. Okay, if I actually don't step into my calling and my purpose, I'm actually part of the problem, the opposite problem of what we don't like about the world. But if we don't step into it, we can't change anything.
I love that saying where it says, with great power comes great responsibility, you know, or sharing your light. And it can be a bit much, but I think for everybody who is on this call, you're already driven, you're already success-based, so you know you have to push yourself out there. So, but it's something not on a guilt-based, like, oh, you gotta share it, but it's like, it's not gonna go away. That calling's not gonna go away. So finding ways to step in front of it is totally key. I love that.
Your heart always speaks, no matter what you do and how much you try to avoid it. It always speaks. It will never leave you. And that's something to understand. Everything is energy. Your thoughts are energy, and your thoughts create the emotions. So that is just something, even if you don't feel called to be on stage, if you don't feel called to be out there, but you know you're an empath and you feel like you need to do something to help people around you, just know that just your thoughts your thoughts alone create a frequency, a vibration that can change other people's lives. We know now that through technology, we can measure that our thoughts, the vibration of our thoughts, reaches people within a radius of about 25 miles, direct reach. But we also know that this then has a ripple effect, so we can literally reach people from anywhere they are, like thousands of miles away. So sending loving thoughts out and understanding your thought process changes the thought process of other people around you. Your mindset has an impact on those people around you. Even if you just pay attention to that, you already know that you're making an impact.
I love that. One thing I wanted to bring just into the topic, and I think is really kind of prevalent to this, and it's having that that confidence to say what you really want to say, especially on social media. I know you posted something the other day, and it was like a topic where you're like, I don't know if you feel like this, but this is how I feel, and how do you feel about that? But it was a really like niche topic that you picked, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I feel like that. And so like, don't be afraid to post those things that you really do have an opinion on, because you'll find your tribe that way. And so what are like, you know, maybe 2 things that you do to kind of speak your truth on social media, and how do you show up with that authenticity? Because you're really good at that, and I love that about you.
Well, thank you so much for saying that. That makes me feel good, because sometimes you don't feel like you're good at it.
And you go so niche, and I see a lot of people do that, and leaders, they'll pick this thing that you want to say, but you don't say, and you're like, me too. So I love that. That was amazing.
It's honestly a practice. It doesn't come naturally, not even to me. I mean, I have my own coach that I work with. I actually have a couple, but it's that serious. No, it's a practice. You have to do it every day, and the more you do it, the more comfortable you get. I don't know if that's even an empath thing or not, because that's human beings. We're afraid of getting the critique or being out there and then being scolded for whatever we just said. I mean, after everything just went down with the political environment and all that, I'm not getting into that, but what happened was that I got some really nasty emails, because originally I'm from Germany, now I live here, and I was like, I don't think I can go back out there. I can't do it, because if I get more of those messages, I feel like people are just gonna like hit me even, and I feel even smaller, and I can't do it. But then I was like, no, and I just always heard this little voice like, no, you cannot withdraw, you still have a purpose, and that is, people hear you, no matter what feedback they give you. And I have to remind myself every time, and probably that's something other people need to hear too. Whatever you hear from other people, if it's criticism or constructive feedback, it is not always, or it's barely ever about you. It's something that you said that triggers them, that they haven't really resolved within themselves, so that they try to avoid or ignore. Or even you are triggering emotions that are trapped within them. We know that now scientifically that is true. So they're not even open to any kind of discussion, because that would mean they have to change their life. They would have to change their mindset. And change, yeah, no, not so much. So when you receive that, just take it with a grain of salt, literally. Just, okay, whatever triggered them, at least they listened. Who knows, maybe down the road, 3 years, they come back and say, you know what you said, I was pretty ugly with you, but it really did make a difference in myself. So don't ever take that as something negative. Just kind of stand over it and like, all right, I don't have to be in alignment with everyone. Maybe sometime, somewhere, somehow they will hear me. Maybe not right now, and that is okay. I think sometimes we just have to sit back and say, it is okay, no matter what people say or do, as long as you feel really in alignment with your life and your purpose.
I love that. This has been such a fun call. It's been incredible, and I'm so glad we got to connect. So thank you for sharing your light and your message. And so tell us a little bit about the free gift. So we kind of briefly mentioned it. I think it's 5 tips?
Yes.
Okay.
5 simple ways to protect yourself from negativity. And it really are simple ways. All my clients use it, and they've seen tremendous change. Some of them are rather obvious, where I'm like, well, duh, I should have thought of that. Others, I created, like I created a protection prayer. So it goes from prayer to affirmations to actual exercises, and they are easy. Like you can do them within 5 minutes or less. And you can do them throughout the day, especially if you print it out, you can kind of keep it with you or pick your favorite and you just remember it. Every time you don't feel safe, you just do that exercise. And it really helps you to stay more focused, to be more connected to people. Well, and as a business owner, obviously that means if you're more connected to your ideal client, that brings in profit.
Amazing.
See the whole... So this is why this is really so profoundly important. Not just because I created it, I'm just kidding. But it's really a great piece. Not all those exercises are even for me, I mean, obviously. But it's just really simple, and I think it would help a lot of people to just get out of bed in the morning and say, okay, I'm actually ready, I feel good, I can do this.
Thank you so much. So I hope that you enjoyed this interview with Isabel. I know I did. And maybe it's inspired you to maybe start a debate on social media without caring about the outcome, or maybe showing up on a Facebook Live, or maybe reaching out to that person you feel too, and just kind of having fun with your business and just finding ways to connect and protect, that works. And check out Isabel's amazing free gift. I know that I might even go through it with my children because I think it's really cool for them to learn it. So have fun with it, play with it. Check your inbox for another incredible interview tomorrow. Go check out all the links that we'll send for you today, and just hit reply and connect with us if you have any questions, and we'll see you tomorrow.